welcome to the third episode of The Mind of a Young Zimbo. I'm Ben and I'm your host. So I know I promised a visual episode for this podcast. This third episode was supposed to be a visual one, but life happened. I had to go to work. I wasn't supposed to. This was unexpected, so I didn't have enough time for, the editing and all of that. So yeah, I was like, okay, let me think of a new idea. So the new idea that I have is exploring short form content, but for podcasts, because short form content is usually just TikTok videos, reels, or YouTube shorts. But why not just do the same for podcasts? Just trying new things. And I was like, yeah, it really fits into the next topic that I want to talk about. It's multifaceted. It has a lot of things to it. And for me to continuously speak about that for, I don't know how long it will take, but I'll just make it into, multiple parts. So I think each part is going to be about, it's going to be less than 10 minutes that I can guarantee you. So yeah, so what is today's topic about? So today's topic is, like I mentioned before, it's multifaceted. It has a lot of things to it. But the main underlying thing is critical thinking when it comes to designing solutions as an engineer or any type of profession that requires that sort of critical thinking, So when you're designing things for people, you need to, because most of the things that we design anyways are meant to be for people. Literally anything. Look around your room right now, your house, everything that was designed there had humans in mind. Okay. So the same thing should be taken into account when you're designing any other thing. But normally, engineers tend to overlook all of that. So there's this thing called human-centered design. I've mentioned it a couple of times. I mentioned it in my previous episodes. And let me just explain what that is. Okay. I'll also be talking about, Africa's, perceived inadequacies might be an advantage. Okay, so right now it's a lot, so bear with me. Let me cook. Let's start with human-centered design. So I'll start with an example and how, this is going to show how critical thinking is important. So anyways, let me get into it. There are these engineers from Europe. They go to Africa. They go to some remote village in Africa. They get there. They see that, okay, that these women that are walking 5 kilometers to the river, 5 kilometers back to their households, carrying water each and every day. Okay, they look at this and they're like, no, this is not right. This is a problem. We need to fix this. Right, that's the consensus. We need to fix this. Okay, I think we can all agree that it's not going to be a fun experience carrying water for 5 k's with a load, 20 kgs upwards of water. So these guys are like, okay, they come up with this innovative design. Like, we're gonna build this pump and this pipe system that's gonna deliver water to these to each and every household on demand. So essentially just plumbing and so they come up with this solution. They build it, spend 3 months in Africa. They're really taking pictures, posting it, the headlines all over, these European engineers, blah 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 blah. They're doing great things. They set it up, they're proud of their work, they leave. Okay, a year later, they're like, let's go check on our project. Let's go back to Africa and check out the project. Let's see how it's going. They get there and they see that no one's using their solution. No one's even touched it. Right? And to top it off, they see that these ladies are still walking 10 Ks to go get water. Now, as engineers, they definitely failed, because if people are not using your design, it means it's crap. It's not as good as you thought. So you failed. Even if it's high tech or whatever, you still failed. So what was the problem? What they didn't realize was, when these ladies were going to the river, it wasn't just, yes, of course, the primary reason was to fetch water. But it wasn't just because of that. It was because of, companionship. It's a way of interacting with others, catching up with friends. Because these ladies, they would have spent the whole day, in the fields, maybe working, doing some sort of, everyday stuff. And they didn't really have the time to spend time with with their friends, with fellow adults, because they probably have just with kids or whatever, and they just want to catch up with their friends. And that was a big part of why these ladies would go to the river, and walk with the other ladies, laughing, enjoying. That was a big part. And when you introduce a solution, such as a solution from these engineers that brings water to each and every household, this then gives them a reason not to go out. It isolates them. They can essentially just stay indoors the entire time, because why do they need to go out and fetch water when the water is right there? Like, it's very convenient. Now, what I'm saying is, these engineers probably didn't have bad intentions. Okay, on paper, it's a good solution, but when you're designing stuff for humans, you really need to take them into account. So when these engineers came, they didn't really consult with people. They didn't really ask them why. Okay, let's say they did see a problem. They should have gone to the people and said, is this a problem for you? How can we? And if they said, yes, we don't want to be walking 5Ks, what can we do? That sort of thing. You can repackage it better by incorporating the people. And in that way, your product can be accepted. Okay. So that's human-centered design in a nutshell. Another common example is when you see, this is something that we all see every day, is that normally you'll see there'll be a pavement, right? Pavement, footpath, and then there's clearly a pavement, but people are still cutting across the grass. So much so that there's a new path there just from like wearing out the grass. There's now a new path. As a designer, the person who designed the pathway also failed, because no one's using his path. They're choosing their own path. It's another example, just not as complicated as the one I gave you at first, but these are some examples of failures of design and human-centered design. You need to incorporate that. So what I mean by this is, when you lack the critical thinking, you look at a situation and based upon your own assumptions, you're like, this has to be the reason. So this is how the rest of the world views Africa. They look at Africa sometimes. They look at, these perceived problems that Africa has, and they don't realize that maybe it's just not as important to us. What they think should be important is probably not as important to us. And even if we think it's important, we probably think we have different ways of maneuvering it. Not everything should be done according to your way of thinking. I'm not just saying it's the West. I'm just saying, as a person, you have your own biases. And when you're thinking of a solution, and when you're presenting your solution, you should incorporate the person you're trying to help. Otherwise, it's sort of arrogant, when you don't. And I've noticed that that's the view that's the type of light that Africa is in, according to, the rest of the world. They have this arrogant view of how Africa must be like. and how the situation is, but they don't really know how the situation is. And we have these inadequacies, in quotes, right? But somehow, and I'm not saying we indeed have inadequacies. We have things that definitely need improving. But some of these problems have given birth to some of the most innovative solutions we've seen in the world. So I've named it skipping phases. How Africa skips phases. What do I mean by skipping phases? Okay, give me 30 seconds. I only need 30 seconds. Okay, I'll give an example again. It's well known that Africa, rural Africa in particular, skipped the landline era and went straight to mobile phones, and in some cases even smartphones. So straight from sending letters or using any other form of analog communication straight to the internet. That's a huge leap. Not even dial-up internet, straight to 3G, 4G. And that was a big thing. That was a big jump, because even if you look at places like let me use Germany as an example. Germany is known as the powerhouse of Europe, and the EU is like the model country in terms of economics, or at least. So people look up to Germany, and to be completely honest with you, Germany is not as technologically advanced as you might think. In Zimio, we have fiber in most places. You'd be shocked. You'd be shocked that fiber is a new thing in some places in Germany. You'd actually be shocked. But anyways, I digress. What I want to say is Africa skips phases, and the most well-known example is telecommunications. And I gave an example. We jump from the landlines to mobile phones, right? And this leapfrog not only connected millions of people who had never had a phone, but also spurred the development of innovative solutions like mobile banking. Again, this is a big one. So we have this company called M-Pesa, right? M-Pesa, for instance, revolutionized banking in Kenya by providing financial services to the unbanked, because we have this problem in Africa where people in rural areas don't really have bank accounts. I mean, how can they? Most people are in the rural areas are, at least in Zimbabwe's case, are undocumented. Second of all, they don't have jobs to have a steady income for you to actually need a bank account. And the third thing is you won't really find bank branches in rural Zimbabwe. It used to be because of colonials, historically black areas didn't really have access to all of that stuff. And that's how Zim is set up. So, but now it's time to change all of that. There's really no excuse, so we need to change that. But the fact remains that banking was a problem in Africa. And then this Kenyan company, M-Pesa, came up with a solution of mobile banking. This was in 2007. And this was followed by EcoCash in Zimbabwe and many other platforms across the continent. And since then, almost all successful mobile money operations have been built in Pesa's image. So kudos to them. That was the blueprint. And I would argue that this was also the blueprint for every other mobile money application in the world. But soon after that, I think PayPal released Venmo, but Venmo did not pick up steam when it was released by PayPal. Venmo started being popular, I think, around 2015. And then you have Cash App, which was launched in 2013. Again, didn't really have that much hype. Now they do. Venmo, Zelle, Wise, all of these things, all of these platforms started afterwards, but by then Africa, like we were now veterans in this thing. We were experienced with like mobile money, and to the world this was something new, but to us it wasn't. And according to the World Bank, in terms of volume, in terms of number of transactions and everything, Africa is the world leader. I think we probably have the most platforms. We move money the most, and one of the reasons why I forgot to mention this, it just came to me right now, is that a lot of people talk about remittances. Remittances started within our borders in Africa. It's not only money that's coming from outside. It really started because after a lot of countries gained independence, Black people became educated, moved into cities, and there was a lot of rural to urban migration, and people would send money back home. They would earn money, send it back home to their respective villages. And mobile money was also a good medium for that made mobile money gain popularity in Africa. And as these platforms grew, like Mukuru, for example, Mukuru is a Zimbabwean platform. There are other ones that I'm forgetting. Mukuru now sponsors Crystal Palace. They're trying to sponsor other Premier League football teams. They're big now. Mukuru not only facilitates transactions between Europe and Africa, but between Europe and Asia and Europe and South America, because remittance is also a big part of those economies as well. So what I'm trying to say is our problems, right? The way we fixed, well, at least this particular problem, had such a big impact around the world. So our perceived inadequacies literally gave birth to something to a big part of the global economy. So, because the thing is, the more transactions you have, the more active your economy is, because you want to stimulate the economy. You want to have as many transactions as possible, because each transaction, there are many people involved in one transaction. So when you have the sender, you have the receiver, and in between, you have your tax, you have your facilitator. He takes, or it's not a person, it's probably like an institution or whatever. They take a part of it. You have banks in the middle. So each transaction gives money to a lot of different people. So that is, I'd argue that, I'm not an economist, but I'd argue that because of these remittances, the whole world is benefiting and the West is benefiting. So yeah, that's it for my first part. I really wanted to talk about how, so the theme for the rest of the parts is going to be how Africa skips phases, and how our perceived failures or inadequacies could actually be an advantage. And I will do another video as well. It's not going to be, I don't know if it's going to be a video, but it might just be an audio podcast. I'll do another one where we tackle the future of AI in Africa, and how this skipping phases thing might not actually be suitable for that, because AI is changing too quick for us to be able to wait and be like, nah, let's wait it out and find, and let it reach a stable state. Because it's like a pendulum. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down until it comes to rest. So usually you want to wait until it comes to rest, and then, you've analyzed everything, you've seen how it goes, and now you get into it. And I don't know if AI is something you can do that with. It worked with mobile phones. I don't know if it's going to work with the AI. Well, that's it for the first part of this multi-part podcast, if you will. And I hope to say more. I hope it's something that can get us, speaking, engaging, discussing, that type of stuff. So let me know And all of this is just basically my opinion. It's just the mind of a young Zimbo. It's what's in my head, putting it out there. So yeah, let me know what you think. Yeah, just enjoying the weather. Nice rainy day. It's cool, not so hot. And yeah, I will try and make visual podcasts, but it's gonna take time. Anyways, take care. Peace.